It looks harmless, even beautiful, thinly sliced into translucent petals arranged like a chrysanthemum on fine porcelain. But one wrong move in the kitchen, and this dinner could become your last. We're talking about fugu, the Japanese pufferfish. It's one of the most dangerous things you can put on a plate. Inside its organs, especially the liver and ovaries, is tetrodotoxin, a poison so powerful there's no cure. Not heating, not freezing, not soaking in vinegar, it stays deadly. A dose smaller than the head of a pin is enough to stop the body cold. In the worst cases, victims stay fully conscious but can't move, breathe, or call for help. That's why in Japan, only licensed chefs with years of training can legally prepare it. But even then, accidents still happen. What makes it riskier is that the toxin doesn't change the fish's taste or smell. You won't know something's wrong until it's too late. And if you think people avoid it because of that, no. Fugu is still considered a luxury dish. It's served in top restaurants across Tokyo and Osaka, and yes, it's expensive. Not because it tastes mind-blowing, but because of the thrill. Some say it's like riding a roller coaster blindfolded. You just trust the chef and hope he's had a good day. In fact, Japan's Ministry of Health keeps public records of fugu poisoning cases every year. Most of them come not from restaurants, but from people trying to cook it at home. What's even crazier, the toxin comes from the pufferfish's diet. It eats bacteria and tiny sea creatures that produce the poison. Farmed pufferfish raised in clean environments don't have the toxin at all. Yet traditionalists say that makes the experience boring. So here it is, a fish that can paralyze you just for being careless. A dish that blends danger with delicacy, and yes, people still ask for seconds. It's one of the most debated dishes in food history, monkey brains. Often surrounded by myths, rumors, and a lot of media exaggeration, this dish has a real and dangerous reputation. In certain parts of Asia, especially in the past, eating the brain of a monkey was seen as a rare delicacy, sometimes tied to ancient beliefs or elite dining circles. But beyond the controversy, there's a hidden danger science warns about, and it's in the brain tissue itself. Monkey brains may carry something called prions. These are not bacteria or viruses, they're twisted proteins that can trigger fatal brain disorders in humans. The same category of diseases that includes Kuru and Creutzfeldt-Jakob, which attack the brain and nervous system slowly and silently. Once symptoms begin, there's no turning back. Prions resist heat and traditional cooking methods, so even if the dish is served hot or processed, the risk can remain. Researchers studying past outbreaks in Papua New Guinea found a strong link between eating brain tissue and the spread of neurological disease. And while monkey brains aren't openly sold in most places today, illegal wildlife markets and underground dining experiences still pop up in some regions, often hidden from public view. Aside from health risks, there's another issue: legal. Many countries now protect primates under wildlife conservation laws, making the trade and consumption of such dishes not only dangerous but also criminal. Still, the dish lives on in urban legends, horror movies, and documentaries, often portrayed as something forbidden and extreme. But it's not just the idea that's terrifying, it's the science behind what it could do to your brain. It's bright, buttery, and served with salted codfish in one of Jamaica's most iconic dishes. But ackee fruit, when not fully ripe, becomes something far more dangerous than delicious. The same fruit that's a source of national pride can also trigger one of the most severe food poisoning syndromes on the planet. When ackee isn't ready to eat, it contains hypoglycin A toxin that stops your body from processing sugar. That leads to something called Jamaican vomiting sickness. The name sounds simple, but the effects can be brutal. Intense nausea, sudden weakness, even liver damage. In serious cases, the body's energy supply shuts down completely. Here's the rule: if the fruit hasn't opened naturally on the tree, it's not safe to eat. For generations, locals have known this. They wait for the pod to split open on its own, revealing 3 shiny black seeds and soft yellow flesh. Only the yellow part is edible, everything else is off limits. Despite these risks, ackee is still sold in cans in markets around the world. The difference? Proper processing. The fruit is inspected, cleaned, and prepared with strict safety standards, especially for export. But in rural areas or backyard harvesting, those safety steps don't always happen. That's when accidents occur. What's surprising is how many people outside Jamaica have never heard of ackee, let alone its dangers. It's a tropical fruit with 2 faces, nutrient-rich and tasty when treated right, but unforgiving if you ignore the rules. You might think you've tried strong cheese before, blue cheese, camembert, even a smelly French brie. But honestly, nothing compares to casu marzu, a cheese so extreme it's banned in many places. Its name literally means rotten cheese, and it earns that title the hard way by being filled with live insect larvae. Made in Sardinia, this cheese starts out as a standard pecorino. Then flies are allowed to lay eggs inside the wheel. The resulting maggots eat through the cheese, breaking down the fats and giving it a creamy texture most people wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. But locals consider it a delicacy. And yes, it's served with the maggots still moving. The danger comes not just from how it's made, but from what can go wrong. If the cheese isn't stored properly, harmful bacteria can multiply. And eating live larvae can carry the risk of intestinal infections if the bugs survive digestion. That's why European food safety authorities have tried to outlaw it, although it's still sold quietly through word of mouth or under the table at some Sardinian farms. Some travelers go looking for casu marzu on purpose, treating it like a dare or a test of courage. Others are shocked to discover that something considered spoiled in most cultures is seen as gourmet somewhere else. One thing is certain, casu marzu isn't just food, it's an experience. A soft, squirming, potentially risky one. And whether you find it fascinating or revolting, it definitely earns its spot on the list of the most dangerous foods in the world. They're shiny, red, and bursting with flavor. Blood clams are considered a luxury in parts of China, Thailand, and other coastal regions of Asia. What sets them apart from regular clams is their high hemoglobin content, which gives the inside a deep red, almost bloody appearance. That unique look is also what makes them dangerous. Blood clams are often harvested in warm, shallow waters, places where bacteria thrive. In some cases, these areas are contaminated with untreated sewage or industrial waste. Unlike other shellfish, blood clams can filter a much larger volume of water. That means they absorb not just nutrients, but also viruses and harmful microorganisms. We're talking hepatitis A, norovirus, and even typhoid-causing bacteria. What makes it worse is that blood clams are often eaten raw or barely cooked. That leaves enough time for whatever's inside to stay active. Several outbreaks over the years have traced back to street vendors or seafood buffets serving these clams without proper regulation. In fact, China banned the sale of raw blood clams in several major cities after a wave of serious illnesses. Still, the demand is there. Some people chase that briny, iron-rich taste. Others treat it as a nostalgic comfort food. But the risk? It's not worth taking lightly. Blood clams may look appetizing on the outside, but inside they could be hiding something your immune system really doesn't want to deal with. On a plate, it looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. Fresh octopus tentacles, chopped into bite-sized pieces, still moving. This is sanakji, a Korean delicacy served while the suction cups are still active. The dish is meant to showcase freshness, texture, and a bit of culinary thrill. But that thrill has a hidden danger. Even after being cut, the tentacles react to sodium and continue to twitch. The suction cups on each piece can grip onto your throat if not chewed properly. That's the biggest risk. It's not the taste, it's the texture and motion. If someone swallows too quickly or doesn't chew long enough, a live tentacle can latch onto the inside of the throat, blocking airways. Restaurants that serve sanakji usually offer chopsticks and scissors and encourage diners to take small bites. But even then, there have been reported choking incidents, mostly among tourists unfamiliar with the dish. That's why some restaurants have started offering a slightly sedated version just to play it safer. In Korean culture, sanakji is part of traditional celebrations and seafood culture. Locals know how to eat it, and they treat it with the respect it deserves. But for visitors, the danger lies in underestimating it. It's not a food you just swallow, it's one you have to battle with, one bite at a time. So it's meaty, high in protein, and often roasted whole over an open fire. In parts of Namibia, the giant bullfrog is a seasonal dish enjoyed by locals for generations. But here's the thing. Eating this amphibian at the wrong time of year can lead to serious health problems, and honestly, that's no exaggeration. The real danger lies in when the frogs are caught. See, before the mating season, giant bullfrogs contain natural toxins in their skin and organs. These chemicals help protect the frogs from predators in the wild, but, well, they can be pretty harmful to humans. If consumed too early in the season, the toxins can cause kidney problems and a condition known as oshiketakata, an illness reported in local communities that includes nausea, swelling, and in severe cases, organ stress. Traditionally, local knowledge helps reduce the risk. Frogs are usually only eaten after they've mated and come out of hibernation, when their toxin levels drop. Some families even boil the frogs multiple times and throw away the water as an extra safety measure. But not everyone follows these steps, especially during food shortages or seasonal rushes. The giant bullfrog may not look like much, but it holds a risky reputation in the regions where it's consumed. Timing and preparation mean everything. When cooked properly and in season, it's a celebrated food. But, jump the gun and you're really gambling with your health. They come steamed, boiled, or skewered, often sold in small paper cups by street vendors across South Korea. Baeondegi silkworm pupae are crunchy on the outside and soft in the center, with a strong, nutty flavor. For some locals, it's a nostalgic snack. For others, it's a source of protein. But behind the curious smell and the sizzling street food vibe is a risk most people don't see coming. Baeondegi contains proteins very similar to the ones found in shellfish, especially tropomyosin. And that's where the danger comes in. People who have allergic reactions to shrimp, crab, or lobster could have the same response to silkworm pupae. We're talking about itching, swelling, and in rare but serious cases, anaphylaxis. All of it triggered by a bite of something that looks totally harmless. What makes it more unpredictable is that the dish is often eaten outdoors or casually, without much awareness of the ingredients. In recent years, doctors have documented cases of allergic reactions linked specifically to Baeondegi, leading some health agencies to warn travelers and allergy-prone individuals to be cautious. Despite the risk, Baeondegi is still widely consumed. It's high in protein, low in fat, and easy to prepare. And for people used to it, the smell, often compared to damp wood, is part of the appeal. But if you're not familiar with it, or if you've ever reacted to seafood, this tiny snack could deliver a reaction that's anything but mild. You've probably eaten cashews straight from the bag, roasted, salted, and perfectly snackable. But raw cashews in their true natural form? That's a completely different story. The nut we all know actually grows inside a hard shell that's packed with a toxic resin. It's not just irritating, it contains urushiol, the same chemical found in poison ivy. Touching the inside of that shell can cause blisters. Eating an untreated cashew straight from the tree can cause severe gastrointestinal distress, and in larger amounts, poisoning. That's why what we call raw cashews in stores aren't really raw. They've been steamed or roasted to remove the toxin before packaging. True raw cashews are considered hazardous and aren't legally sold in many countries. In places where cashew farming is common, like India, Vietnam, and parts of Africa, workers wear gloves and protective gear just to shell them. The process is labor-intensive and requires careful handling to avoid exposure to the caustic oil. It's one of the reasons cashews are more expensive than other nuts. The next time you grab a handful of cashews, remember you're eating a food that started out too dangerous to touch. It took heat, pressure, and serious precautions to make it safe. Without that, this tasty nut would never make it to your snack drawer. On the outside, hakarl looks like any other dried meat. But take one whiff and most people instantly step back. It smells like ammonia, like a cleaning product that sat in the sun for way too long. In Iceland, it's considered a traditional food, but honestly, it's also one of the strangest and most dangerous things ever served on a plate. Hakarl is made from the Greenland shark, a creature that, while majestic in the wild, has flesh full of toxins. Fresh shark meat from this species is completely unsafe to eat. It's loaded with urea and trimethylamine oxide, compounds that can poison the kidneys and affect the nervous system. That's why Icelanders developed a very specific way to prepare it by fermenting the meat underground for weeks, then air drying it for months. This long process breaks down the harmful chemicals and, makes the meat technically edible. But the taste? It's been described as biting into rotten cheese dipped in bleach. Even celebrity chefs like Anthony Bourdain and Gordon Ramsay had a hard time swallowing it. Ramsay reportedly spit it out on camera. Still, hakarl remains a proud part of Icelandic culture. It's often served at festivals and national holidays, typically in small cubes with toothpicks. Locals grow up with it. Visitors try it once, usually just once. But the science behind it is what makes it fascinating, a naturally toxic animal, transformed by tradition and time into something people still dare to eat. Rhubarb is one of those plants that shows up in cozy kitchen recipes, pies, jams, and sweet sauces. The stalks are tangy, crisp, and packed with flavor. But the leaves? That's where the danger lives. Unlike the stalks, rhubarb leaves contain high levels of oxalic acid, a compound that can cause serious harm if consumed in large enough amounts. Oxalic acid interferes with how the body processes calcium. It can lead to kidney problems, nausea, and more serious symptoms if too much is ingested. The thing is, the plant doesn't look threatening. The leaves are wide, bright green, and leafy, exactly what you'd expect from a harmless vegetable. That's what makes them risky, especially for those unfamiliar with the plant. Most grocery store rhubarb is sold with the leaves already removed for safety. But in backyard gardens or farmers markets, that's not always the case. It's why gardening guides and cooking blogs continue to warn people rhubarb is only safe if you stick to the stalks. Interestingly, during wartime food shortages, there were rumors that rhubarb leaves could be used like spinach. That advice didn't age well. Some people got sick after trying it. Today, the rule is clear: if it's not the stalk, don't eat it. Rhubarb may be a favorite in the kitchen, but only when you know exactly which parts belong on your plate. It's rare, heavily protected, and often traded illegally. The African tree pangolin isn't just a unique animal covered in armored scales. It's also at the center of one of the most serious health concerns in modern food history. In certain regions, pangolin meat is still consumed as part of traditional bushmeat practices. But what many don't realize is how dangerous that can be, not just for the animal, but for humans too. Pangolins are wild animals that can carry viruses, bacteria, and parasites unfamiliar to the human immune system. When handled or consumed, especially when undercooked, those pathogens can jump species. That's called zoonotic transmission. It's how certain viruses that used to live quietly in animals find their way into humans and spread. Scientists have long warned about the risks of eating exotic wildlife. Pangolins in particular have been studied for their connection to viral outbreaks. This is one of the reasons they've become a focus of global conservation efforts. Not just because they're endangered, but because the diseases they might carry aren't fully understood yet. Despite heavy international protection laws, the black market trade still exists in some parts of Africa and Asia. Pangolin meat is sometimes considered a delicacy or status symbol. But the reality is, this eating, it doesn't just threaten an entire species. It puts public health at risk in ways we're only beginning to grasp. So, you've probably swallowed an apple seed at some point without thinking twice. Or maybe you've cracked open a cherry and noticed the hard pit inside. Most people just toss them out, or, accidentally eat them. But inside those smooth, innocent-looking seeds is a chemical called amygdalin. And, well, that's where things get serious. When amygdalin is digested, it turns into hydrogen cyanide. Yes, cyanide. The same compound known for its toxic effects on the human body. The good news is, swallowing 1 or 2 seeds isn't likely to cause harm. The hard seed shell usually passes through the body without breaking open. The danger really starts when seeds are crushed, ground, or consumed in large amounts. Crushed cherry pits or blended apple seeds can release enough cyanide to cause symptoms like dizziness, nausea, and in rare cases, more serious effects. That's why some health authorities warn against making tea or smoothies with stone fruit pits or cores. It's not a myth, it's just basic chemistry. Even so, the seeds remain inside almost every apple and cherry sold worldwide. That's because the danger depends on how they're consumed and in what quantity. For most people, they'll never be an issue, but knowing what's hiding inside these everyday fruits adds one more reason to keep them out of your blender and off your menu. They grow in forests, parks, and even backyards. Wild mushrooms may look earthy and inviting, but every year people end up in hospitals after picking the wrong ones. The problem? Many deadly mushrooms look nearly identical to edible ones. And when the difference is just a shade of color or a faint ring around the stem, guessing wrong can be a fatal mistake. One of the most dangerous species is the deathcap. It resembles edible mushrooms like puffballs or straw mushrooms, but it contains amatoxins, compounds that destroy liver and kidney cells. Symptoms often take hours to show up, which means by the time someone realizes something's wrong, the toxin has already spread. And cooking doesn't help. These toxins survive high heat, so frying, boiling, or roasting them does nothing to make them safer. That's why experienced foragers use strict rules and identification methods before eating anything they find in the wild. But every year, especially during mushroom season, poison control centers around the world get flooded with emergency calls. Wild mushrooms can be a great ingredient when you know what you're doing. But to the untrained eye, they're like landmines in the woods. Beautiful, tempting, and sometimes deadly. Cassava is a lifeline crop. It feeds over 500 million people worldwide. But underneath its humble appearance lies a chemical trap. Cassava contains linamarin, a compound that can turn into hydrogen cyanide inside the human body. The good news is the root can be made safe. The bad news? It's only safe if prepared exactly the right way. There are two types of cassava, sweet and bitter. The sweet variety has lower toxin levels and is usually boiled or steamed. The bitter kind needs more attention. It must be soaked, grated, fermented, and cooked thoroughly to remove the poison. Skip a step and the consequences can be serious. In several parts of Africa and South America, outbreaks of cyanide poisoning have been linked to improperly processed cassava, especially during times of drought or food shortage when people rush the preparation process. Symptoms range from nausea to more serious effects like nerve damage or difficulty breathing. What makes cassava so unique is this double identity. It's a survival crop and a potential hazard. That's why education around how to prepare it is as essential as the crop itself. It's one of the few foods in the world that can both nourish and harm, depending entirely on how it's handled. In the waters of the Red Sea and Eastern Mediterranean swims a fish that looks small, sleek, and completely unthreatening. It's called the silver stripe blossop, a type of pufferfish, and it's one of the most toxic fish found near Egypt's coastline. Unlike its Japanese cousin, this version isn't served in five-star restaurants. It's often caught and eaten by mistake. The danger comes from tetrodotoxin, the same powerful poison found in Japan's fugu. A small amount can lead to numbness, paralysis, and even respiratory failure. What's worse, there's no known antidote. In Egypt, health officials have issued repeated warnings after reports of people falling seriously ill or worse after cooking and eating this fish at home. Part of the problem is misidentification. It doesn't look particularly dangerous. It has a slender shape and silver stripe, making it easy to confuse with other edible fish. But the toxin is concentrated in its liver, skin, and reproductive organs, and no amount of heat can destroy it.
They sit on grocery shelves in bright, colorful boxes. Some have smiling cartoon mascots, others scream whole grain or fortified with vitamins. But let's be real. Most sugary breakfast cereals are basically just candy in disguise. Pouring them into a bowl and adding milk doesn't change the fact that you're starting your day with a sugar rush that rivals a donut. These cereals are often loaded with high fructose corn syrup, artificial colors, and preservatives. The moment you eat them, your blood sugar shoots up, giving you that quick burst of energy. But it doesn't last. Within an hour or two, your energy crashes, your brain fogs, and you're already craving more sugar. That's because your body responds to the spike by releasing a flood of insulin, then dips too low, leaving you more tired than before. Even the ones that look healthy, like honey clusters or fruit-flavored flakes, aren't safe. Flip the box over and look at the label. Some of these cereals have more sugar per serving than a slice of chocolate cake. And no, a couple of added vitamins don't magically turn that into a nutritious meal. A better start to the day doesn't have to be boring or complicated, but your body needs fuel, not fireworks. It looks healthy. It sounds healthy. The word yogurt almost feels like a wellness buzzword. But when you peel back the foil lid on those sweet, fruit-flavored cups, what you're really getting is a dessert pretending to be breakfast. Many flavored yogurts pack more sugar than a candy bar, some up to 20 grams or more per serving. And that's before you toss in granola, honey, or dried fruit. What's worse, the fruit at the bottom of the cup. Often it's not fruit at all, just a sugary gel with artificial flavors and color. The yogurt itself, usually low-fat or fat-free, is processed to the point where most of the natural benefits are lost. The helpful bacteria are still there, but they're buried under layers of added sweeteners and stabilizers. Starting your day with one of these is like pouring syrup into your engine and hoping it runs smoothly. It won't. You'll get a fast hit of energy, then the familiar crash. Hunger kicks back in fast and your mood can dip just as quickly. Plain Greek yogurt with fresh fruit is a whole different story, but those rainbow-colored containers in the fridge, they're not helping your morning. Let's be honest, bacon smells amazing. It's basically breakfast's signature scent. But behind the sizzle is a food that brings way more trouble than it's worth first thing in the morning. Processed meats like bacon, sausage, and deli ham are loaded with sodium, saturated fats, and nitrates. That crispy strip on your plate may feel like comfort, but it's also pushing your blood pressure and cholesterol the wrong way. Nitrates, which are used to preserve and color the meat, have been linked to inflammation and other long-term issues when eaten regularly. And while one piece of bacon won't ruin your life, Making it a daily habit sets your body up for unnecessary stress, especially early in the day when your system is just waking up. Pair bacon with sugary cereal or white toast, and your breakfast becomes a triple threat. You're not fueling your day, you're making your digestive system work overtime. There's a reason nutrition experts don't rank bacon high on any morning checklist. It's not just about calories, it's about how your body reacts to these ingredients within minutes of waking up. Coffee itself? Totally fine, but what you pour into it? That's where things get weird. Non-dairy creamers might sound like a harmless add-on, but many of them are chemical cocktails made of hydrogenated oils, artificial sweeteners, thickeners, and synthetic flavors. That creamy vanilla swirl might look comforting, but it's made of ingredients that have nothing to do with actual cream, or even food. Some creamers even include titanium dioxide, a whitening agent also used in sunscreen. And those zero-sugar versions? They often rely on sugar alcohols that can cause bloating or stomach discomfort. Not exactly the vibe you want after 2 sips of your morning brew. What starts as a warm cup of comfort turns into an artificial mix that confuses your metabolism. Your body doesn't recognize those ingredients the same way it does real milk or cream. And over time, this can lead to unwanted side effects like blood sugar spikes or inflammation. If you're trying to keep your breakfast clean, the first thing to rethink might be what's floating in your mug. Next, let's unpack those pre-packaged breakfast sandwiches that promise convenience, but deliver a whole lot of something else. They're everywhere. Gas stations, office vending machines, freezer aisles. Wrapped in shiny plastic labeled hearty or protein-packed, pre-packaged breakfast sandwiches look like the perfect grab-and-go fix. But inside that wrapper is often a heavily processed mix of low-quality ingredients, bleached white bread, artificial cheese, sodium-packed meat, and industrial preservatives that keep it fresh way past what feels natural. The egg is usually powdered or flash-frozen, the bacon or sausage is full of nitrates, and the cheese? Often not even cheese, but a dairy-based product engineered to melt perfectly. These sandwiches can contain more than half your daily sodium in just one serving. And that's before adding anything else to your meal. The calorie count climbs quickly too, especially with all the hidden fats and additives. Starting your morning with this kind of sandwich is like sending your digestive system into overdrive before your brain is even caught up. It feels filling at first, but a couple of hours later you're dragging. The quick convenience comes at the cost of sluggish energy, bloating, and a long list of unpronounceable ingredients. It's fast food in disguise, and your body deserves better fuel to begin the day. It's a breakfast classic. 2 slices of white toast, maybe with butter or jam. Simple, familiar. But nutritionally, white bread is one of the emptiest ways to start your morning. Made from refined flour that's stripped of fiber and nutrients, white bread breaks down in the body fast, faster than you'd think, causing a sharp spike in blood sugar right after eating. That means quick energy, followed by a fast crash. You feel hungry again sooner, often craving more carbs or sugar. It's a cycle that sets your whole day off balance. Even worse, when you add sweet spreads like jam, honey, or chocolate hazelnut spread, you're doubling down on sugar at the worst time of day. Fiber is what slows digestion and keeps energy steady, but white bread offers little to none. It's all fast carbs, no staying power. Whole grain bread is a better choice, but even then, watch the labels. Some loaves just dye the flour brown and call it whole. A breakfast built on white toast is like building a house on sand. It won't hold up when the day starts hitting hard. They're weekend favorites and, for some, a daily indulgence. Golden stacks of pancakes or crisp waffles dripping with syrup. They might look comforting, but nutritionally, this breakfast combo is closer to a dessert than a morning meal. Made with refined white flour, most pancakes and waffles are just quick-burning carbs with little to no fiber, meaning they digest fast and spike your blood sugar even faster. Now add a generous pour of maple syrup, or worse, artificial pancake syrup made from high fructose corn syrup, and you've just turned your breakfast into a sugar avalanche. In fact, some pancake breakfasts clock in with more sugar than a slice of cake, and almost no protein to balance it out. That means your body gets a flood of glucose, triggering insulin spikes and crashes that leave you hungry and groggy before lunchtime. Even those boxed pancake mixes labeled "just add water" are loaded with additives, preservatives, and hidden sugars. And frozen waffles? Most are pre-sweetened before you even add anything on top. It's like layering sugar on top of sugar and calling it fuel. The result? You get an energy burst that feels good for about 30 minutes, followed by a sluggish drop that can mess with your focus, mood, and appetite. It's tasty, sure, but it's not the kind of start that supports a sharp mind or a steady day. If you're craving something warm and comforting, there are better ways to do it without the sugar overload. They're marketed as fuel for your busy life. Toss one in your bag, unwrap it on the go, and boom, instant breakfast. But many store-bought granola bars are far from the health food they pretend to be. Packed with added sugars, syrups, and processed oils, these bars are often closer to candy bars than anything resembling real nutrition. Some brands load their bars with honey, brown rice syrup, or cane sugar, all of which act just like plain sugar once they hit your bloodstream. Add in chocolate chips, sweetened dried fruit, or yogurt coatings, and you're eating something that spikes your energy quickly, then leaves you drained not long after. Despite the oats and nuts they often contain, the heavy processing strips out much of the natural benefits those ingredients offer. Even the bars labeled as protein or energy options can be misleading. Many get their protein from soy isolates or cheap powders, not whole foods. And the fiber, often added artificially, not coming from real sources like fruits or seeds. You think you're getting a balanced snack, but what you're really biting into is a cleverly marketed sugar delivery system. If you're starting your day with one of these, you might feel satisfied for a moment, but you're likely to crash before mid-morning. And the cravings that follow? Blame the bar. Just because it comes in earthy packaging and sits in the health food aisle doesn't mean it's doing your body any favors. For a real morning boost, whole ingredients always beat the wrapper. Eggs are often hailed as the perfect breakfast protein, and in many ways, they are. But scrambled eggs? They have a dark side when they're cooked the wrong way or smothered in extras. The classic diner-style scramble, dripping with melted butter or heavy oil, and sometimes topped with cheese or sausage, turns a simple protein into a greasy, high-fat overload that can weigh you down before your day even starts. The cooking method matters more than most people think. Overcooking eggs breaks down their delicate proteins, making them rubbery and harder to digest. Plus, the nutrients, especially B vitamins, start to break down under high heat. Instead of getting a healthy dose of fuel, you end up with something heavy on your stomach and light on real benefits. Then there's what gets mixed in. Pre-made scrambled egg mixes or those used in fast food breakfast often include preservatives, stabilizers, and powdered egg products, far from the fresh eggs you might picture. These mixes can also contain trans fats and unnecessary sodium, which quickly adds up if you're eating them regularly. Even at home, it's easy to go overboard with the butter or cheese, turning a healthy ingredient into something that clogs instead of energizes. Eggs aren't the enemy, but how you prepare them makes all the difference. A light, gently cooked scramble with minimal added fat? That's a solid start. But the buttery, overdone pile you find at buffets and drive-thrus? That's not helping your morning at all. A glass of orange juice with breakfast sounds healthy. It's fruit, right? But here's the truth. Most store-bought fruit juices are stripped of fiber, packed with natural sugar, and often come with added sweeteners to boost the taste. That sunny-looking drink might give you a dose of vitamin C, but it also floods your system with a heavy shot of fructose in just a few gulps. Unlike whole fruit, juice doesn't come with the pulp and fiber that slow down digestion and help your body process sugars gradually. Without that buffer, the sugar hits fast, spiking your blood glucose and pushing your pancreas into high gear. Over time, these sugar hits can add up, increasing your risk of energy crashes, cravings, and even metabolic problems if it's a daily habit. And the portion sizes? Way off. 1 cup of juice is often made from 3 to 4 oranges or apples. Would you sit down and eat that many pieces of fruit in one go? Probably not. But in juice form, it's easy to overconsume, and easy to forget how much sugar you're really drinking. Even labels that say 100% juice can be misleading. Some are made from concentrates or heat-treated to the point where natural nutrients fade, and the flavor has to be re-added artificially. It's fruit-flavored sugar water with a fancy label, so while juice may look like a healthy start, it's more like a shortcut to a mid-morning energy slump. If you really want to get your vitamins in the morning, reaching for a whole piece of fruit is a much better move. They're golden, flaky, sometimes filled with cream or topped with glaze, and they call your name from every bakery case. Pastries and donuts are breakfast favorites around the world, but when it comes to how they affect your body in the morning, they're trouble disguised as a treat. These baked goods are made with refined white flour, loaded with sugar, and often fried in unhealthy oils. That's a triple hit of fast carbs, fat, and sweeteners, all before 9 a.m. The problem isn't just the calories, it's the crash. When you eat a donut or croissant, your blood sugar spikes quickly, giving you a jolt of energy that fades just as fast. Within an hour or two, you're hungry again, low on energy and possibly craving another round of sugar. It's a cycle that sets the tone for poor eating decisions the rest of the day. Even pastries that look lighter, like fruit danishes or cinnamon rolls, can contain more sugar than a candy bar. And don't forget the trans fats, which are still used in some pre-packaged versions to increase shelf life. These fats can linger in the body and raise inflammation, which no one wants first thing in the morning. Sure, they're delicious. But that deliciousness comes at the cost of steady energy and a clear mind. Starting your day with a donut might feel satisfying for a few minutes, but it's like building your morning on quicksand. It won't take long before things start to sink. Bananas are one of the most popular breakfast fruits. Easy to grab, naturally sweet, and full of potassium. But here's the twist. Eating a banana first thing in the morning, especially on an empty stomach, might not be doing you any favors. Why? It all comes down to the mix of high natural sugars and mild acidity. Bananas contain a large amount of fructose, and when eaten alone, the body absorbs that sugar fast, too fast. Without fiber, protein, or healthy fats to slow things down, this can lead to a rapid spike in blood sugar levels followed by a familiar crash. You might feel alert for a moment, but that energy won't last long. Suddenly you're hungry again, craving more sugar, and left wondering why breakfast didn't stick. There's also the acidity to consider. While bananas aren't as harsh as citrus fruits, they can still trigger stomach discomfort or acid imbalance if they're the first thing you eat, especially for people prone to digestive issues. The spike in magnesium from a banana might also put strain on your cardiovascular system when there's no food in your stomach to balance it out. Now, bananas aren't bad, far from it. They're packed with vitamins, potassium, and fiber. The trick is pairing them with something more grounding. A banana with a handful of nuts or mixed into plain oatmeal. That's a smarter move, but alone on an empty stomach, they're a fast-burning fuse that leaves you running low before the morning's even started. Oatmeal has a great reputation, and rightly so. It's warm, filling, and full of fiber that supports heart health and digestion. But not all oatmeal is created equal. Those convenient flavored packets, they often have more in common with a dessert than a nutritious breakfast. Behind flavors like maple brown sugar or apple cinnamon hides a surprising amount of added sugar, artificial flavoring, and preservatives. Some packets contain 12 grams or more of sugar per serving, before you even add anything on top. That's the same as starting your day with several teaspoons of white sugar. The quick oats inside are usually processed to cook fast, but that also means your body digests them faster, leading to rapid blood sugar spikes and an energy crash not long after. And then there's the portion size. One little packet might not be enough to feel full, so it's tempting to double up, which doubles the sugar and sodium too. Many brands also add powdered dairy products, thickeners, or synthetic vitamins that don't absorb nearly as well as nutrients from whole food sources. If you think you're choosing the healthy option, you're not alone. These packets are marketed to seem wholesome and time-saving, but the truth is, they're more of a sugary shortcut than a balanced meal. Starting your day with a bowl of oats should be a win, but only if you keep it clean. Skip the packet, go for plain rolled oats and dress them up yourself. That way you stay in control of what fuels your morning. A quick scoop, hot water, stir, and you're off. It's no wonder instant coffee is a morning staple for millions. But when that coffee is artificially flavored, the simplicity hides a list of chemicals your body wasn't exactly craving after a night's rest. Flavors like French vanilla, hazelnut, or caramel macchiato might sound appealing, but most of the time, they're created in a lab using synthetic compounds rather than real ingredients. Artificially flavored instant coffees often contain chemical solvents, emulsifiers, stabilizers, and added sweeteners to mimic real taste. Some of these additives, like propylene glycol, a common flavor carrier, are also used in antifreeze and processed foods. While technically approved in small amounts, it's not exactly the kind of stuff you want in your bloodstream first thing in the morning. Then there's the coffee itself. Most instant varieties are made from lower quality beans that are freeze-dried or spray-dried at high temperatures, stripping them of natural oils and antioxidants found in freshly brewed coffee. What's left is a bitter, flat powder that needs artificial flavoring just to be palatable. And here's the kicker, many of these instant mixes include added sugar or artificial sweeteners, even if they don't taste overly sweet. So without realizing it, you may be starting your day with hidden sugars and low-grade caffeine that won't give you the clean energy boost you're looking for. Long-term, it's the kind of routine that can mess with your metabolism, irritate your gut, and leave your focus foggy by mid-morning. Want coffee that actually helps you wake up and stay sharp? Brewed from fresh beans with no added flavors or chemicals, your body and taste buds will thank you. There's no denying it, spicy food can be exciting. It wakes up your taste buds and adds bold flavor to almost anything. But if you're kicking off your day with a plate of hot sauce-drenched eggs, fiery breakfast burritos, or chili-seasoned meats, you might be setting yourself up for more than just a wake-up call. Spicy foods in the morning can irritate your stomach lining, trigger acid reflux, and throw your whole digestive system off track before your day even begins. When you wake up, your stomach is relatively empty and sensitive. Throwing in something loaded with chili powder, jalapenos, or sriracha can increase the production of stomach acid. For people prone to acid reflux or heartburn, this is a fast track to discomfort. That burning sensation in your chest or throat later in the morning, it could very well trace back to what you ate at breakfast. Capsaicin, the compound that gives spicy food its heat, also slows down digestion. This means food stays in your stomach longer, increasing the chance of reflux and bloating. And while spicy dishes might feel energizing, they can leave you feeling sluggish once that internal heat catches up with you. It's not about giving up spice altogether. Spicy foods have their benefits, when timed right. But eating them on an empty stomach in the morning is like lighting a match in dry grass. It might not cause a fire every time, but when it does, you'll feel it. For calmer mornings, keep the spice for lunch or dinner, and let your body ease into the day without the extra burn. They promise laser focus, instant energy, and superhero-level productivity. But energy drinks in the morning often deliver the exact opposite. Many of these cans are loaded with caffeine, sugar, artificial sweeteners, and stimulants like taurine or guarana. Sure, they can jolt you awake, but that burst is short-lived, and what follows can be a hard crash that leaves you more tired than before. Most energy drinks contain 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine per serving, sometimes even more. That's nearly triple what's in a standard cup of coffee. And when combined with sugar or chemical stimulants, the caffeine hits your system fast, spiking your heart rate and blood pressure. It might feel like supercharged energy, but your body is burning through it at an unsustainable pace. What comes next is the slump. Mood dips, focus disappears, and hunger returns full force. By midday, you're not just tired, you're irritable, distracted, and craving more caffeine. That cycle can mess with your sleep patterns, increase anxiety, and even cause dependence over time. Not exactly the calm, focused morning most people are hoping for. Plus, many energy drinks are acidic and carbonated, which irritates your stomach when it's still empty. Starting your day with one is like revving a car engine with no oil. It sounds powerful, but the damage builds behind the scenes. If you need a boost in the morning, there are smarter ways to get it. Hydration, balanced food, and yes, even black coffee in moderation, can energize you without setting you up for a crash. That silver can might look cool in your hand, but your body knows better. Start your morning with something that supports your energy, not something that drains it by noon.
It's Alicella gigantea, a shrimp-like amphipod that's flipped the rules of size upside down. Most of its relatives are the size of your pinky nail. This one, it can grow up to 13 inches long. That's bigger than most cats, and no, that's not an exaggeration. This deep-sea creature is a perfect example of something scientists call deep-sea gigantism, a strange biological trend where certain animals become much larger than their shallow water or surface cousins. It happens because of the cold, high-pressure environment, the low temperatures that slow down metabolism, and the scarcity of food that forces creatures to grow larger and more energy efficient. In the deep, being big isn't just an advantage, it's survival. If the same principles applied to land animals, if there was such a thing as terrestrial gigantism, you'd be seeing things like this. A shrimp the size of a grown man's torso with claws big enough to box with. It's strange. And yet, in the crushing blackness of the Hadal Zone, something very close to that actually exists. Alicella gigantea was first discovered near the Kermadec Trench, when a deep-diving submersible brought up something that looked more like a movie prop than a living animal. Researchers were stunned. This wasn't just a larger shrimp, it was an evolutionary outlier. In a way, it's nature pushing its limits, showing us what happens when life adapts to extreme isolation for millions of years. It doesn't hunt or chase, it scavenges. Long antennae sweep across the seafloor in total darkness, picking up traces of decaying matter that sink from above. Its body is built for endurance, heavily armored, slow-moving, and efficient. It's not beautiful, not fast, not flashy. But down there, none of that matters. All that counts is survival, and Alicella has mastered it. Its sheer existence fascinates scientists who study the possibility of alien life. If something this unusual can evolve in a world with no light, near-freezing temperatures, and toxic pressure, then life on icy moons like Europa or Enceladus doesn't sound so far-fetched. Not little green men, maybe, but alien shrimp the size of footballs? Not off the table. Alicella gigantea doesn't look like much at first glance. But the more you learn about it, the more it challenges your understanding of what life really means on Earth and maybe beyond it. At first glance, it looks like a creature from an old sci-fi movie. Pale, armored, and covered in segmented plates, the giant isopod is often called the ocean's own tank, and it earns that title. While its land-dwelling cousins like the pillbug or roly-poly are barely an inch long, the deep-sea version can grow over 20 inches. That's the size of a newborn baby, but with a shell like a medieval battle helmet and antennae that never stop moving. These deep-dwelling scavengers are found mostly in the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans, often between 1,000 and 7,000 feet below the surface. Down there, food is scarce and life moves slowly. The giant isopod thrives by conserving energy, drifting lazily over the seabed in search of anything edible from fish carcasses to whale falls. It's not picky. When it finds a meal, it feasts like it's the last buffet on Earth, sometimes eating so much it can barely move for weeks. Literally. Its body is built for survival. Multiple overlapping plates form a tough exoskeleton that can withstand high pressure and rough terrain. It has 14 legs that give it a stiff, robotic movement, and giant compound eyes that help it detect even faint glimmers of movement in the pitch-black water. Nocturnal and cautious, it rarely leaves its comfort zone. Why should it? It's already a master of its environment. In fact, it's such an oddball that researchers once found one inside a remotely operated submarine. Apparently, it crawled in during a maintenance dive and just stayed there, chilling in the electronics bay. That's the kind of animal you're dealing with. Silent, slow, and completely unbothered by human technology. The giant isopod is more than just a creepy sea bug. It's a reminder of how strange life gets when it's left alone for millions of years at the bottom of the ocean. Evolution doesn't just scale creatures up down there, it reshapes them into living fossils that seem engineered for another world. If your nightmares ever included a crab with legs longer than your living room couch, they weren't far off. The Japanese spider crab is the largest arthropod on the planet, with leg spans that can stretch up to 12 feet from claw to claw. Its body may only be around a foot wide, but those legs go on forever gangly, armored stilts that make it look like a cross between a crab and a construction crane. Found in the deep waters around Japan, especially near the Pacific coasts of Honshu and Kyushu, these crabs live anywhere from 500 to 2,000 feet below the surface. Their long limbs aren't just for show, they help the crab move across jagged terrain and reach food buried in the seafloor. It's like having built-in excavation equipment. Slow-moving but surprisingly agile, the Japanese spider crab glides over the bottom, like a rusted living robot. Its orange-spotted exoskeleton blends in with coral and volcanic rock, making it a master of camouflage. And despite its monstrous look, it's not aggressive. It scavenges mostly decaying fish, dead mollusks, anything it can get its claws on. It's more janitor than hunter. That said, its claws are strong enough to crack open shells and defend against predators if needed. What's even wilder, it can live over 100 years. That's right. There are crabs on this planet older than your grandparents, just roaming the depths with legs longer than a grown man. And during mating season, they crawl up to shallower waters, forming surreal processions that look like an underwater version of War of the Worlds. For the people of Japan, the spider crab is both feared and respected. Its image has found its way into folklore and art and even onto dinner tables, though catching one isn't easy. In fact, overfishing has made sightings of truly massive specimens rarer than ever. But the largest ones, the ones that haunt the deeper trenches, still remind us how alien our own oceans can be. You don't need to travel to another planet to find bizarre megafauna. You just need to look beneath the waves where giants still walk on spindly legs, hidden in the dark. If you ever wondered what might be lurking in the darkest corners of the ocean, the kind of thing that sailors used to whisper about around stormy decks, meet the colossal squid. Not giant squid, colossal squid. Yes, there's a difference, and it's terrifying. While the giant squid can reach similar lengths, the colossal squid is heavier, bulkier, and stronger. Some specimens have been estimated to weigh over 1,500 pounds, with bodies as thick as oil drums. The largest confirmed individuals have eyes larger than a human head, the biggest eyes of any known creature on Earth. Not metaphorically, literally. Colossal squids live in the cold, black waters of the Southern Ocean, particularly near Antarctica. Their range is one of the most remote and least studied on the planet. And they're elusive. Almost everything we know about them comes from accidental catches by deep-sea trawlers, or from the stomachs of sperm whales, their only known natural predator. Those whales come up with sucker scars across their heads and faces, carved by the squid's rotating hooks. Yes, rotating hooks embedded on their tentacles. Their arms are muscular, covered with sharp-edged suckers that can tear flesh, and their beaks are strong enough to slice through bone. And yet we still know very little about how they live, how often they reproduce, or how deep they truly go. They're like a boss fight designed by nature, all power, all mystery. For years, stories of giant sea monsters were dismissed as exaggerations or sailors' tales. Then researchers pulled a colossal squid onto the deck of a vessel, and suddenly those old tales didn't sound so crazy anymore. If this monster can exist in our ocean unseen for centuries, what else is still out there? You can't look at a colossal squid and not think of Godzilla, Pacific Rim, or any number of deep-sea horror films. Only this time it's not special effects, it's real. And it's still down there, hunting in silence. Now let's talk about something that doesn't need claws or hooks to send a chill down your spine. The deep-sea oarfish is long, silver, and eerily graceful, a ribbon of muscle and mystery that glides through the deep like a living ghost. And when it rises to the surface, it turns myths into headlines. Oarfish can grow to lengths of over 36 feet, making them the longest known bony fish on the planet. With a thin, flat body and a red, mane-like crest running from its head, it looks like something pulled from the pages of ancient sea monster legends, because it probably was. Japanese folklore calls it the messenger from the sea god's palace. And even today, local fishermen believe that oarfish appearances are a warning of coming tsunamis or earthquakes. Normally, they dwell at depths between 650 and 3,000 feet, where they drift vertically head up, tail down like a silver sword slicing through the water column. Unlike many deep-sea giants, they don't rely on brute strength. Instead, they undulate gently, using their long dorsal fin to navigate. It's mesmerizing, almost hypnotic. But when one washes ashore, whether sick or disoriented, it's a surreal sight. People have mistaken them for sea serpents more than once. Oarfish have no visible scales and no real teeth, feeding mostly on plankton and small crustaceans by filtering water through their gills. Despite their peaceful diet, they've become legends in coastal communities around the world. And seeing one up close feels like catching a glitch in reality, something that shouldn't exist, but does. What's strange is how little we know about them. They've rarely been filmed in their natural habitat. Most of what we understand comes from the rare individuals that strand themselves near the surface. And even then, they seem too perfect, too alien to belong to Earth. They're not dangerous, but in some ways that makes them even more unnerving. Because when something that long and strange floats out of the darkness, calm and slow, you realize the ocean doesn't need monsters. It already has them, they just don't roar. They glide. Deep below the ocean's surface, where light has never touched and pressure can crush steel, a silent drifter moves with ghost-like grace. It has no face, no stingers, and no central brain, just a massive umbrella-shaped body and 4 trailing arms that can reach 30 feet long. This is Stygiomedusa gigantea, the phantom jellyfish. And for over a century, it was more rumor than reality. Even today, spotting one is like winning a deep-sea lottery. In the thousands of hours, researchers have explored the abyss using robotic submersibles. Stygiomedusa has only been recorded on camera a handful of times. It doesn't pulse like most jellyfish. It glides its bell, flexing ever so slightly, moving like a slow-motion cloak through the dark. With its long, paddle-like arms flowing beneath it, the whole thing looks like a boss enemy from a horror game. Only it's real. Unlike most jellyfish, this giant has no stinging tentacles. Instead, it uses its thick, muscular arms to envelop and trap prey, likely small fish and plankton. Its feeding method isn't flashy, but it's effective in a place where food is rare and movement is energy. Down there, you can't afford to be wasteful. One of the most striking things about Stygiomedusa is its silence. It doesn't blink, flash, or glow. It doesn't chase or dart. It simply floats slow, enormous, and unknowable. This simplicity makes it eerie. It's like watching a curtain drift through an underwater cathedral, indifferent to everything around it. Captured footage from the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute shows it drifting more than 3,000 feet below the surface, undisturbed by the robotic cameras filming it. No panic, no change in direction, just pure ancient stillness. It's like it's always been there, just out of reach, just out of sight. In a way, Stychiomedusa gigantea is the ultimate symbol of the deep. Not dangerous, not aggressive, just massive, mysterious, and completely alien to everything we know. Proof that the ocean doesn't need to be loud to leave you speechless. You've seen crabs, you've seen spiders, but have you ever seen a sea spider the size of a dinner plate or bigger crawling across the seafloor with limbs that look like they've been stitched together from pipe cleaners and nightmares? Found mostly in Antarctic waters, the giant sea spider isn't a spider in the way you might think. It's a marine arthropod part of the pycnogonid family with a body so small that most of its organs are crammed into its legs. Some species down there can grow over 24 inches across, moving slowly but steadily through near-freezing, inky black water. Their bodies are stripped down to the basics: a narrow torso, a tubular mouth, and legs long, jointed, and eerily thin that carry them like walking tripods over the sediment. There's almost nothing cute or comical about them. They look ancient, because they are. These creatures are survivors from a time before dinosaurs, drifting through oceans that haven't changed much in millions of years. What makes them grow so large down here? Again, deep-sea gigantism. In polar environments, cold water holds more oxygen. With fewer predators and slower metabolisms, these creatures evolve in strange directions. Instead of compact forms built for speed or aggression, they stretch out. They become spindly. Despite their terrifying look, giant sea spiders aren't dangerous. They feed slowly by piercing soft-bodied prey with their proboscis and sucking out the nutrients, like a mosquito of the deep. That said, watching one do this under a microscope feels more like a scene from Alien than a nature documentary. And here's the kicker: some of them are dedicated parents. Males carry the eggs on special leg appendages, guarding them as they slowly develop in the safety of the cold, dark depths. It's a bizarre contrast to their otherwise unsettling appearance. Even monsters have responsibilities, it seems. The giant sea spider is another reminder. The deeper you go, the weirder life gets. Down in the abyss, beauty and terror share the same body plan. All legs, no rules, just evolution doing its strangest work. It's slow, it's ancient, and it might be the oldest vertebrate alive today. Meet the Greenland shark, a massive ghost-faced creature that drifts through the icy black waters of the North Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. It's not flashy or fast, in fact. It's one of the slowest swimming sharks ever recorded. But what it lacks in speed, it makes up for in mystery, resilience, and age. A single Greenland shark can live for 400 to 500 years, which means some of the ones swimming today were already gliding through the ocean when the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock. This shark doesn't hunt like a great white. It glides. Often clocking in at just under 1 mile per hour, it moves with a kind of glacial patience that fits the cold waters it calls home. It's been recorded at depths of over 7,200 feet, and yet it sometimes turns up closer to the surface, usually at night, in search of food. And food for this slow-moving beast includes just about anything. Fish, squid, seals, even the occasional polar bear carcass if it's lucky. Greenland sharks are scavengers by nature, but they're also opportunists. Their teeth are specially adapted for tearing chunks out of large prey. The upper teeth grip, the lower ones slice, no dramatic chase needed. One of the most striking things about them is their eyes. Most Greenland sharks are nearly blind, thanks to parasitic copepods that attach themselves to their corneas. These creepy little hitchhikers dangle from the eye like stringy jellyfish, blinding the shark in exchange for a free ride. But the shark doesn't seem to care. It navigates using other senses: smell, vibration, and maybe even a kind of deep-sea sixth sense. Scientists determine the shark's age through a method called radiocarbon dating, specifically analyzing the proteins in the lens of the eye, one of the only parts of the body that stays unchanged throughout its life. The results are staggering. One female Greenland shark was estimated to be over 390 years old, possibly as old as 512. That makes it the longest-lived vertebrate ever discovered. And despite that long lifespan, We still know almost nothing about how they reproduce, how often they breed, or how many are out there. They don't migrate in large groups, they don't surface for air, they don't leave obvious trails. It's like nature designed them to remain hidden, drifting beneath the ice in silence. If the ocean is a museum of Earth's past, the Greenland shark is its oldest exhibit. It's not a monster, and it's not a legend. It's real. And it's been quietly watching the centuries roll by from beneath a ceiling of frozen water. If there was ever a creature that seemed built for an alien planet, it's the giant tube worm. Found clinging to the scalding edges of hydrothermal vents in the darkest parts of the ocean, these pale, towering organisms can reach 6 feet tall, yet they have no mouth, no eyes, and no digestive system. And somehow, they're thriving in a world where almost nothing else can survive. These surreal animals were first discovered in the late 1970s during a dive near the Galapagos Rift, at depths of nearly 8,000 feet. Researchers expected to find nothing but lifeless seafloor instead. They stumbled upon dense, glowing gardens of tube worms erupting from the rocks like strange, red-tipped flowers. The water around them was near boiling, reeking of sulfur and laced with toxic chemicals. And yet, life was exploding there. So how does a creature with no mouth or stomach survive? Through one of the weirdest partnerships in nature. The giant tube worm's body is essentially a hollow casing. Inside lives a special organ called a trophosome, which is packed with billions of bacteria. These microbes use chemosynthesis, not photosynthesis, to convert the poisonous hydrogen sulfide spewing from the vents into usable nutrients. In other words, the worm feeds off of its internal tenants, and the bacteria feed off of the vent gases. It's a living factory fueled by poison and pressure. Each worm grows inside a tough white tube made of chitin, the same substance that makes up insect shells. The bright red plume sticking out the top is used for gas exchange, sort of like gills. It's red because of hemoglobin, the same protein that gives our blood color. But here it's supercharged to extract tiny amounts of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen sulfide from the surrounding water. These towering colonies can cluster together in tight masses around black smokers' hydrothermal chimneys that belch out mineral-rich water at temperatures over 700 degrees. Despite the extreme heat, the pressure at these depths keeps the water from boiling. It's like a high-pressure cooking pot for alien biology. The most mind-bending part? These worms grow incredibly fast for deep-sea creatures, some up to 3 feet in less than a year. That's unheard of at those depths, where most animals move and grow at a glacial pace. It's as if the vents supercharge them into rapid life before the environment shifts or dies. The giant tube worm is living proof that life doesn't need sunlight. It doesn't need eyes or a mouth. It just needs the right chemistry and time. If there's a lesson here, it's that life finds a way not in spite of extreme conditions, but because of them. Which raises an even bigger question. If this can happen on Earth, what's waiting in the oceans of Europa or the methane lakes of Titan? So what is waiting there? After everything we've seen crawling, drifting, and towering in Earth's own abyss, the answer might be stranger and closer than we think. The deep sea isn't just a final frontier on our planet. It's a window into what life could look like anywhere. Take a step back. We've seen shrimp the size of house cats, jellyfish with arms longer than buses, and worms that thrive in boiling chemicals without a mouth or stomach. Not one of them needs sunlight. Not one of them depends on Earth's surface conditions. They are self-contained systems, surviving off the heat and minerals of a planet that down there might as well be alien itself. And yet they're thriving. This is exactly why NASA and other space agencies keep pointing to icy moons like Europa and Enceladus as top candidates for extraterrestrial life. Both have oceans hidden beneath thick frozen crusts. Both show signs of internal heat. Both have chemistry that's shockingly close to what we find around deep-sea hydrothermal vents. If giant tube worms can thrive in sulfur clouds and crushing pressure, what's stopping something else from doing the same in another ocean, one we've never touched? We're not talking about tentacled monsters or floating brains, but microbial life? Maybe. Complex, slow-moving scavengers with weird anatomy? That's not science fiction anymore, it's a natural extension of what we already know. Even the behaviors of Earth's deep-sea giants hint at what alien life might be like. They use chemical signals instead of vision. They feed without hunting. They endure without moving much at all. That sounds eerily fitting for the frozen, dark oceans of other worlds. A creature adapted to those environments wouldn't need to be fast or smart. It would just need to be built for silence, patience, and pressure, like the Greenland shark, the Stygiomedusa, or the oarfish. Every trench, every unexplored slope of the Mariana or the Kermadec is a reminder that Earth itself is a test bed for alien life. And maybe, just maybe, some of the answers to our biggest questions about the universe aren't waiting in the stars, they're already hiding below our own waves. So the next time someone asks where we might find life beyond Earth, don't look up, look down. Because in the deep where giants roam without light or sound, we've already seen the impossible. And it's only the beginning. That's about it. Which of these giants shocked you the most? Write in the comments, and don't forget to check out our other videos.